Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Pyre. Last episode I left you mid-dialogue, so without further ado, let's just get started, why don't we? As the day wears on, there is still no sign of the Worm Knight. Your companions grow restless, but then... Heil! This knight returns with newfound tales to tell and new scars to show for them. So Gilman is stopping wet and visibly shaken. He struggles to maintain decorum. He is in short the very image of a Worm Knight. And more importantly, the little Tempest will no longer pose a threat for now. Behold! As if on cue, the Deathless Tempest begins to simmer and subside. I'm sorry about the accent. I'm just having way too much fun with it. Hey, look, the storm's gone. We can move onwards. Would you look at that? He really did it. Of course, this knight did it. Now, if it would be alright with you, this knight could really use some shut-eye. The Worm Knight then collapses in exhaustion. You and Hedwyn help him up. A deal's a deal, so Gilman, welcome to the Nightwings. Huzzah! Welcome, buddy. So Gilman joined the group. He also revealed a path north for you. Thank you, good sir. And onwards we go. And welcome to the Nightwings, of course. Oh man, how many times have I changed his accent during this time? Like maybe 3 or 4 times. It's always a little bit different. It's hard to keep track of anything. Oh my. The Deathless Tempest. I thought this would have been the end of the sea by this point. I can't quite recall. With Sir Gilman's aid, you managed to breach the Tempest. You were true to your word, Worm, I shall give you that. But now what? We're stranded in this cursed storm. A most excellent question, and from one most fair. Call me that once more and I shall tie you in a knot. And from one most spirited as well. This knight was wise to side with thee. Just, where do we turn from here? Answer the question now. Sir Gilman does no such thing, although eventually he does make note of a specific current that should lead you to the lands beyond. If I may, I can corroborate Sir Gilman's account. We are close to making landfall. Then let me be first to say, let's go. You are on the verge of sailing across the Sea of Solace. Onwards. Say, Tariq. Aye, Rookie, what is it? That loot you're always carrying around. You know how to play that thing, don't you? Why, I suppose I do. Good, because I was thinking it's a little gloomy here and we could all use a little tune to lighten up the mood, know what I mean? Aye, then let me see what I can do. I should turn up the music in post.
Before the salt and roiling sea, the moon began to cry. The valley ran with sorrowful tears and filled the waters high.
The vocals are done by Darren Korb. He's the one that's made the soundtrack for all of Supergiant's games.
Lies a leaden sky. The stars all hide away from the chill until the evening rise.
And then there you have it. Now we're at Black Basin. I apologize for the silence, but at the same time, sorry not sorry. The music is fantastic. Darren Korb is he is a songwriter. He writes his songs like he would a song. That doesn't make any sense. Let's continue onwards. At last your wagon rumbles onto solid jagged ground, the land called Black Basin. Searing vapor and strangling forests mark the forsaken lands that loom across the sea. The 8 scribes first discovered this, the northern landmass of the downside. Your fellow exiles unpack the wagon so you can take stock of how best to reach your destination. I'll take the chance to talk to someone. Hey Gilman, how you doing, buddy? You approach Sir Gilman, who must have finished practicing his fencing maneuvers. He regards with his single eye. Hail, Master Reader! This knight is determined to train harder, having joined the famous Nightwings. He shall ensure that this triumvirate continues to live up to its most feared reputation. This is such an honor! And this knight has a great deal of honor to regain. Having fled the Pyre Hearts, this knight fully expects now to conduct the rites in a most honorable fashion, to the fullest letter of the law described within the books. Speaking of the books, some triumvirates this knight has met, and perchance mentioned by name, they are inclined to bend the rules a bit, sometimes a lot, and to prevail by any means they can. But this is wrong! The exiles who refuse to obey the rules, as they were written by the Under-King Oris and his 7 friends, deserve neither his honor nor his freedom. Thusly does this knight have confidence that the Master Reader shall resist any temptations to conduct the rites in any underhanded fashion. Okay, thank you, Tariq, for playing that. That was wonderful. Now then, this knight must undergo a thorough cleansing, having trained until the point of foulness. So please excuse me, Master Reader. He slithers off, humming some sort of chivalrous tune. Do-do-do, do-do-do, do-do-do-do. Sir Gilman's crest, official certification of knighthood in the Commonwealth, oft sought by worm knights. Ha, neat. First things first. We haven't spoken to Sandra in a while. You have returned. How can I help you, if at all? What is on your mind? So then, we are back on solid land or something like it. Then this must be Black Basin flames and nauseous fumes on one side, suffocating forest on the other. Lovely, lovely place. So good of you to take me here. You truly would pursue those blasted stars until the farthest corners of this land, it seems. Though I had better cease my blasphemy, or else the scribes themselves might descend from up on high and strike me with another much-deserved penalty. Is that why you're missing your eyes? The thrill of such transgressions, reader. Sometimes it keeps me going, not that I have any real choice. Now we had best get back to our normal business, as it were. I will bid her farewell. It occurred to me last episode, until our next appointment. You can speak to Sandra all the time. She never really outright calls for you to speak to her, unlike, you know, all the other members. It's usually just do it of your own accord, which is unfortunate. Normally, I'm quite thorough, but because I'm busy let's playing, it's easy to forget these matters. You know, let's take this chance. Everything is unlocked, all the readings. Which one is... It's about time we start reading the lore of this world. I believe we should read these in order. Starting with the Emperor's Fall. The history of Soliam Mur, the first exile, and the foremost of the 8 scribes. Let's begin. History... Yes! Awesome. Okay. This picture on the right, this is Gol-Galathanian. One of the... I think the third of the 8 scribes. Yeah, in the words of Gol-Galathanian, the Master General. Take note. Notice how his, you know, the silhouette of his head is similar to the silhouette of the mask that Hedwyn has to wear. Remember that Hedwyn is the nomad. His corresponding scribe is Gol-Galathanian. You can see the mask on the bottom. Everybody's mask, all the scribes have a corresponding mask, which it's sort of like, it's the same shape as the head, basically. Let's just get started on reading. You know perhaps the thrice-cursed name of Soliam Mur, the Emperor of Sar? This language that people speak in this land is Sarian. Sar is like the land from above. The Commonwealth. The first exile and my liege. This chapter concerns him and those who found him in the downside. Each of us was sent to take his life. Such was the hatred for him in and around his country. Yet we found in Soliam Mur a man transformed in body, mind, and spirit. A man deserving of much more than mercy. In time, he named us all his scribes, and he became the 8th. Sorry, he became the 8th scribe. It is my greatest honor now to share with you his deeds. To know his story is to know the rites. How do I go? Next page. Oh, I can just hit right. And I can press T to have a closer look. The last emperor. How many nations did I scour in the name of Soliam Mur? How many countries fell before our spears and blades? Such questions mattered less to me with every passing victory. Our legion swelled across the land, and our dominion grew. The Emperor Soliam Mur paid all this little heed. He only tended to his personal affairs. Our legion relished the autonomy. We did not know the Emperor cared nothing for his legions, nor his people. He cared only for that which was before him. Remember, this guy is the 8th scribe. One day, he learned of such a thing as to befit his name and vowed to seek it out. How do I hit back? Just backspace, I guess. The rope caller. I knew it was a fool's errand, but my liege, he would not listen. He instead insisted to pursue a certain treasure, a celestial orb, freshly fallen from the heavens in the reaches of the downside. He would be a living legend if only he could grasp it, whispered in his ear that Kalamo rope caller, his elder and most trusted aide. Would that I slew that man myself. His was a simple and yet brilliant ruse, to draw the Emperor farther still from his responsibilities and towards his greed. Thus did the Emperor begin an expedition into the Forsaken Lands. He insisted that he go himself. The Emperor's collapse. It was not long before the Empire began to crumble. With my liege gone, his own country quickly turned upon itself. I must admit that this collapse had started long before the Emperor's disappearance. His decision to give chase after a myth but hastened the inevitable. All the while, the rope caller stood by, awaiting such a time as he could rule in my liege's stead. He would be our people's savior. His first charge was to organize a search for the missing Soliam Mur, the Emperor, the guy who left. Warriors, pathfinders, and scholars heard the call and prepared to seek him out, and not for a good reason either. Down the river. The Emperor Soliam Mur knew naught of this, of course. His expedition yielded not the treasure he desired, but brought him closer to his country than he had ever been before. As he traveled down the river Sklorian in pursuit of greed, Sclorian being the river that takes you down to the downside. He found instead an inkling of shame. He saw the sunken faces of his people, heard their words for him. In time, he could not ignore it and proved more than he could bear. The river finally claimed him, his belongings and his retinue. Once the people heard, I understand, they cried with joy. Because no one likes Soliam Mur. Perhaps he ought to have perished, but the mercy shown to him, I think, is what transformed him. The hunter for the Mur. My emperor lay there, bleeding and alone, stranded in a bitter land beyond the river. With fleeting consciousness, he understood the folly of his quest and the folly of his rule over his country. Thus did he await the last embrace. It was the imp Hawub that nursed him back to health and warned him often of the dangers he would have to face. Many enemies of Mur would come in search for him, some under employment by the rope caller, some longing openly for cold, uncomplicated vengeance. I was one of them, Golgolathanian, an assassin. I plunged into the river willingly. I needed to be sure he was dead. You know who else is like that? Sandra, the unseeing. Emperor Mur, the demon. Emperor Mur, scarcely could I recognize him when at last I found him. A half-starved animal, horns sprouted from his head, a bestial mirror of his blackened reputation. And I, a man who conquered countries, feared my emperor then in such a way as I had never known. My charge had been to slay this man, but when I discovered him, he was already fighting for his life. The little imp Hawub proved of little help against the Sisters of the Arch, whose entire lives were culminating in this instant. I think Sisters of the Arch are the High Wing Remnants? Or I can't quite recall anymore. I was unable to watch. My heart ached with such pity for the man, and for the love I felt for him when I had served him, that I sprang to his defense. Any more pages? God damn it, so much reading in this game. The mercy shown. The imp Hawub and I helped to save my emperor, and when the dangers did subside, my emperor Soliam Mur, he said something to me which shook me to the essence of my being. He said, "You gave your freedom, Master Golathanian, so that I may yet have mine. You too, now, are an exile of the downside. In all the days which I have left, I could never repay the mercy you have shown me. So if I cannot do so in this life, then I shall do it in the next." We crossed the land together, and together with the imp, we gained the company of those who saw in him what I did. Is there more? The 8th scribes. We found each of the others in due time by fate, not by coincidence. The wise Lusclorian stood among the trees, gazing at the stars, expecting us. The wild witch, Melith, was so enthralled by my liege's utter transformation, she stayed her sorceries. Blessed-born Triesta swooped down upon us, but to warn us of imminent attack. The many-maned Jomua thus intervened and shared with us his humor and his hunt. Even the Under-King Oris himself sought out an audience with us. Thus we became the 8 and journeyed on together. And each one of these scribes are a different race. Lusclorian is like a tree person. Melith is the bog crone. Triesta is a high-wing a harpy. Jomua is the cur. Under-King Oris is the worm. You have Hawub, who is the imp, and who else do you have? Golgolathanian and Soliam Mur. The scribes' deeds. I wish to remember not for boastfulness. Thus I refrain from detailing our exploits across the land, save to say that they were numerous. Know that only through our combined strength of arms and wit did we withstand this savage land. Such were the monstrous dangers that it posed. I came to see that all the terrors which I heard at bedside in my youth were based entirely in fact. So great they were, they blotted out the skies. Such was the evil that we vanquished, that the remnants of it yet shine under the stars, and in the end, it was the stars which guided us towards our truest calling. The FREEDOM-PACT. We rid the land of an impending doom, but faced another of its kind, for we knew that we were trapped. Yet for each danger we faced, for every failed ambush by the Arch, we met with gentle souls and kindred spirits in the downside who deserved more than to fade from memory within this land. It was then the stars themselves showed us the way, delineating a great voyage across the sea. Near broken we became, but then at last a moonlit vision, that of the Rites. The Rites! Thus shall they say of us, the 8 scribes gave their freedom, so that we may yet have ours. And that is the end of chapter 1. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed my dramatic reading. That is just the beginning. Just the very beginning of, Soliam Mur, a hated emperor turned, hero, religious hero. You find the headman has asked for several volunteers to scout the area and report back. Alright everyone, don't go too far and let's meet back by dusk. Please use caution, the exiles dwelling in these lands are, well, rather territorial. For your part, you remain with the Black Wagon to keep watch. You see occasional dark shapes soaring across the sky, but none of them draw near enough for you to see in any detail. Eventually, your companions make their way back, and everyone arrives as planned, or earlier. Hi everyone, I'm back. I have come back. Thank you, Gay. You're my favorite. No, you're not. Gay returns from the east with little to report, save for word that the glowing molten rock there is very, very hot. This knight yet lives, although he has little else to report. The newest member of the group, Sir Gilman, returns from a northern past, visibly shaken. He appears to have discovered an intense fear of heights. Krariok. Tizo wonders whether any species of fish lives in the pools or rock nearby. I'm sorry, Tizo, probably not. The little imp Tizo seems disappointed to have left the water behind. He remains with you near the wagon. There is a western path that seems traversable. If we travel by the light of dawn, the shadows and the crags may well cover our advance against whomever may be watching. Begging your pardon, I do not wish to contradict your strategy, madam, though in my experience we shall not remain hidden for long during the climb towards the nest of Trieste. According to the stars, the next right shall soon commence here. The exiled harp matriarch lives in solitude among these very cliffs. The exiles of the high-wing remnants, you may have no love of them, inherently, but they have no such qualms with me, for now I may be able to negotiate a safe passage. Negotiate with them? Then Hedwin steps in as the lone minstrel bows and backs away. Hey, let's not decide on this just yet. We're not going anywhere right now. That much we can agree on. Hedwin, I know your backstory. I know what you're doing here. That much we can agree on. We'll decide how to best go ahead come morning. For now, let's take the rest of the afternoon and get our bearings. Something to keep in mind for now that, Hedwin seems a little bit touchy about this subject. Drodariel glares at the sky as everyone else disperses. You have the rest of the day to practice your vocations. So, Drodariel, very aggressive towards whatever is studying private. Very aggressive about what's going on. Hedwin, a little less, a little touchy. You locate? Okay, we've read all this before. Okay, we've already got plenty of hope. I think the next thing, I want to move faster. Moving faster is probably the wisest thing to do. You concentrate on your knowledge of the 8 scribes and how together they compose the Book of Rites among their many feats. Inspiration comes to you in a flash, whether from the book or within, you cannot tell. You gain readers' influence celerity. I should have hovered over the word. I don't know what celerity is about. Sandra, can I speak to you? Sorry, that was a voice crack. What is it, reader? Nothing on your mind. No, nothing. Never mind. I'm sorry. I was hoping you'd want to talk. We shall continue with our journey. What else? The low road, Drodariel wishes to avoid the harps by staying on low ground, and the lone minstrel believes he can negotiate safe passage with the harps via this path. I'm sorry, Drodariel, I'm sorry, Jody, but I'm afraid if I do what the lone minstrel said, Jody is not going to be part of the next rite. And if that's the case, that might be really bad because she's my defensive backer. But that said, I don't think she will be my defensive backer in the next rite. I think Tizo will be used as my defensive backer because he can fly. And you might be wondering, why would flying matter? Show yourselves, you frightened little birds. All day long, winged shadows across the sun. You are being watched. Drodariel is very unhappy about it, though the lone minstrel now attempts to calm her. Perhaps I can communicate with them. Please believe me, madam, when I say your enmity towards the harps be held back in check here. A winged race known as the High-Wing Remnants at war with the Commonwealth. They are as coarse as their feathers. They hold themselves superior. The Archjustice Androboles the Ninth. Androboles? Is that the voice in the book? Drodariel looks at him with a fury in her eyes, yet he retains his calm demeanor. Soon she grants his request with a silent gesture, then he calls towards the heavens. Good sisters, we are humble travelers such as you, and beg your leave. We journey by the sea and seek safe passage through your lands. We shall not disturb your hunting or your nests. The request is met with nothing but silence. You search in vain for any indication of acknowledgement. Then, without notice, one of them appears. She sweeps the minstrel up and out of sight before Drodariel can respond. Damnation! Wait here, I shall go find him. For a long, terrible moment, you are alone with your panic. Soon, however, the lone minstrel returns amid the sound of flapping winds. He dusts his cloak and calls out towards them. We thank you for your hospitality, good sisters. We shall be on our way. Having seen this, Jody returns sullen. She's even looking away a little bit. The exiles of the High-Wing Remnants are letting you pass. For now, it seems they are having some dispute within their ranks and wish no further trouble for the time. It is a warning, one that leaves Drodariel fuming. She lost all hope! Oh my god! Yikes! She's gonna take forever to respawn! I'm gonna have to look into that. We'll have to check out her stats. And this is where the next rite is going to be beginning, I believe. Which is as good a place as any. to really end off the episode. At last you arrive at the nest of Trieste, where the next rite is soon to commence. You cannot shake the feeling that unseen eyes watched your wagon ascent, and remain watching now. As per usual... Sandra, you've got anything to speak to me? I will check on you until the day I die, because I care for you deeply and inherently, and I wish only the best for you in the future. You know, that does it for this episode. I know we'll be starting it right next episode, but until then, thanks so much for watching. I do appreciate your viewership. Stay tuned, there's going to be a lot more Pyre coming in future, but until then, have a nice day.